In Britain, judges are about to go softer on minorities in their sentencing and do so as a policy. By minorities, of course, we just mean non-whites. And for the Americans watching, don't tune out because this is coming here sooner or later. Anyway, so an article in the Daily Star, which is a British newspaper, said, and I quote, "New guidelines will tell judges to consider the discrimination and negative experiences of authority black and ethnic minority yobs face," unquote. So notice that when it cites both black and ethnic minorities, it's basically a long-winded way of saying all non-whites. All of these people suddenly aren't expected to take personal responsibility for their crimes. Let me tell you about the actual justice system in Britain. They went for not just years, but actually decades, avoiding the prosecution of rape gangs that targeted children because police forces were unwilling to be called racist. They were unwilling to upset community relations. That's really the excuse that they used. That's why they let child rapists continue raping children. Now, you see, the rape gangs in question were Middle Easterners. Like, they were Arabs, in other words, who were doing it in large part because they considered themselves better being Muslim than the white girls that they were raping. And yes, there was an actual racial or religious component to the rapes that they were engaging in. And yet, the police looked the other way because they didn't want to be called racist. That actually happened and went on for decades. Thousands of young British girls were raped and assaulted because the police looked the other way. And now, it's about to get worse because now judges are about to refuse to put away criminals if they're not white, apparently. And it's a long-standing problem in our society where people are so afraid of being called racist that they won't do the right thing, whatever that happens to be. Whether it's, issue a fair sentence or actually investigate those who are committing crimes. Or just speak up about the truth, which is what happens on a fairly regular basis. People intentionally change their speech because they don't want to be accused of being called racist for example, having an opinion that's anti-immigration or something like that. But the British justice system is already really lax. The sentencing is much shorter than here in the United States, for example. And as a result of that, you do have more people re-offending. People who weigh how much they're going to get if they get caught and decide, I can do 2 years if I have to. Whereas, nobody says, I can do 20, right? Nobody does that. So the justice system itself, if it needs work, I would say it needs work in the other direction. But if you were to enforce an unequal justice system, then wouldn't it be fair to go in the other direction and be harsher on newcomers than on the people who have been there the whole time, people who have been there for generations? Shouldn't newcomers get fewer privileges than those who've been there, than those who built the country, than those who have paid into it for generations? If you were going to do the unfair justice system, it would seem like this would be the direction that you'd go in. Like, why should the native people become second-class citizens in their own country? That doesn't seem right. And in America, I'm a newcomer. I don't expect perks, including in the justice system. I wouldn't dare to. And I go out of my way to behave better here than I would in my homeland, which is England. It's kind of like being a guest, right? If you enter somebody else's home and you're a guest, you're particularly careful about the things that you touch. You don't want to break anything. It's kind of like that. It's basically about basic decency and respect. And I will say, I do think this kind of multi-tier justice system, which is twisted, is probably coming to America soon enough, because American leftists already complain that our current justice system is biased against blacks, which it's not, and complain about a history of oppression that modern blacks weren't alive for. And when you really put everything together, in combination with what's going on over in England, because there's a pattern in which American leftists follow what happens in England. The stuff that we really don't want to follow, like hate speech, appeared much sooner in England than it did over here. Well, I can really put like 2 and 2 together and figure that this is coming here soon enough. So I hope that the Brits speak out against it and that Americans are watchful for it. We don't want a multi-tier justice system that lets people off on the grounds of race. Wait, if you enjoyed that video, please remember to like and share. I can't grow without you. Also, if you want to be reliably notified of new videos, don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. If you're able to support the production of these videos, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe at Subscribestar, or maybe get one of the healthier products, or even get some merch.